Hello, hello. This is the 116th Test from the Future, an experimental podcast from the year 2223, which we are sending from our present to yours. My name is Dirk.
And my name is Simon.
And we're putting the past in podcast.
It's good to have you back, Dirk.
Yes, I'm back.
Back on Earth.
Back on Earth, yes.
How long were you on Venus in the end?
I think together this was 12 days. 12 days, yeah. So the 5 days of the conference. But the last day of the conference, the strike was already going on. And another, my math is off.
Either way, you were there around a week extra.
Yeah, exactly. And a few more days even. Last week's episode feels a really long time ago. I was still on.
It was nice of you to record that and to send it back.
It was also pretty impressive that I couldn't get any communication out, but I could send our podcast back to the past. Funny how that works. Yeah, so I think after we recorded, I was there for 2 more days, and then they struck a deal. And but they were already starting to meet in the middle, and the strikers, as a token of goodwill, they already started to reduce the temperature.
That was kind of them.
Allow supplies in. Also, at one point, it wouldn't have been nice anymore. I think.
No.
So then I got back. First thing I did, I went to the anti-grav room, switched up the gravity, switched on the water, and I had a really nice
0G bath.
Yes, exactly. And I stayed in there for a few hours. It was really nice.
Can imagine.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if we'll be visiting Venus anytime soon.
No, I mean, we got 2 whole episodes while you were there, so
exactly. There's no need to go there anymore for the podcast, at least.
For the podcast, yeah.
And I think I've seen enough red rats for this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. So,
okay. But then that's cool. That means we can now, this week, talk about the subject we were going to talk about last week originally.
Yeah. Which is, drum roll,
live toys.
Yes, live toys. So
they're toys that are alive.
Yes, exactly.
They're not real. I mean, do you want to say more?
Yeah. I mean, this is a nice thing. It's some of this technology that has really complex names, like low fidelity wake burner. Nobody really knows what this is. Live toys are toys that are alive. They move on their own initiative. They speak. They play with each other.
Exactly. Play with each other. Play with people as well, like other kids, adults, everyone, whoever wants to play with them.
Exactly, and they have no, they don't need to be powered or anything. They're basically alive. And then there are the category that is non-sentient, like a non-sentient animal, like a house cat or something like that. It's very much alive, but it's not basically self-aware. And there are the sentient ones that very well know, I'm a toy.
Yeah. And exactly, they know what they are. They're not like programmed or built in such a way that they believe that they really are. A cat, for example. I mean, that would be a self-aware one. Rather, they understand, hey, I'm a toy. This is my job.
Yeah.
You want me to play with you for many years? Okay, then let's make an employment contract, pay my salary and so on. And if it's just like a one-time thing, like for a big party, okay, then let's, work out, a fee for the appearance.
Yeah, and that's kind of the difference. If it's a non-sentient one, it's like with a cat, you can buy it, and if it's a sentient one, you hire it. It's basically you employ a toy.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
and they have full legal rights. There's of course they have a proper union.
They have a contract.
Exactly, it's all above board.
And I think that's also what makes it interesting. Or maybe, interesting for our listeners, maybe, where that's the thing is because your sentient toy is employed by you, it can actually quit.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, for example, because it can get a much better paying job as the same toy somewhere else, or because you're being rude to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so those are both, well, especially the last one, there's a pretty negative thing. Can also be, it's been your toy for 15 years and wants to do something else.
Yeah, exactly. Time
wants to try doing something else in the world.
Exactly. The other way around, it's harder because if you hire a toy, and especially if you have it employed for, let's say, 10 years, you can't just fire it like that.
Of course, no.
Yeah, because you have to consider the toy itself. It's been in your service for so long. It has certain rights, so you can't just fire a toy. You can't say, you're not my doll anymore. I mean, you can, but you have to have really good arguments.
Yeah.
On the other side, when you're the toy itself, you're the doll, you can actually quit. You just have basically 3 months, 6 months, whatever. And sometimes they don't quit, but they can ask for a raise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I actually have had quite a few of salary negotiation rounds.
Recently? Or?
Yeah. So the bright pink doll I have with the ponytails. Mm-hmm. I gave her a raise very recently. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's not like she was saying she was gonna quit, but she was already for a few months kind of making hints, saying, "Hey, I'm speaking to some of my doll friends, and they're getting paid way better."
Yeah,
just matter of factly. And at one point, I was getting the hint. So, and I really liked her. So
sure, yeah. And then actually, okay, then let's we've said the two main categories, sentient and unsentient. Maybe let's speak of some of the toys.
Oh, yeah.
Like you mentioned dolls already, of course. But there are many different types of toys.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you, maybe we start with dolls?
Yep. Good place to start.
You don't have any?
No. I have... Well, so I don't have dolls. I can talk about the ones I do have later.
Okay, but then I have a bunch. Mm-hmm. Especially it's I mean, that's the kind of thing, like they're sentient, but they're also, I mean, they're not born.
No.
In that way, they're
they're toys, yes. They're made.
Exactly. In that way, they're a little bit like robots, where they're kind of created. There's a whole like paperwork to fill out and so on. But like especially the doll that I just referred to, she's part of a range, and you release a different one each year with a different character. And all the dolls that you have is basically from Blims. Okay, exactly. Mm-hmm. So with the Z, Blims. They release a new one every year, and then they update the firmware is not the right word, but basically they inform all the other dolls.
Right, they get update emails.
Yeah, and then that there is a new one. So, for example, the ponytail doll that I just mentioned, she then starts to reference the new this year's doll that is, and then they start to play, but you notice then from how they play.
Right, they're kind of missing someone.
They're missing someone because, hey, there's now Jalaya. That was actually this year's edition. And then it's really hard as a employer or as a, let's say, house owner to resist that.
Sure.
It's like, do I have the feeling like, okay, now I have some incomplete set of dolls playing here.
Yeah, it's an extra level of collectability where if they were not behaving in this way, you maybe would know that there was a new toy out, but a new doll. But maybe you wouldn't feel so much pressure to buy it soon. But okay, when they're playing already new games where they really need that addition to their group, it really, pressure's the wrong word, it encourages you.
Yeah, and it's nice how they did it because they were suddenly keen on playing Zwaveball in my living room, which is fine. I let them, and I mean it's kind of also sometimes maybe I don't like it, but it's like give and take, It's sometimes you just have to give them some freedom. And I wanted to play Zwaveball in my living room, but of course you need. They were one player short.
Right.
And I was saying, oh man.
And you can offer, hey, I can join in, but you're a bit big, you're a bit the wrong scale.
And they were saying, oh, maybe we can ask Jalaya. And I was like, oh, come on. I don't have Jalaya hired. Yeah, okay, so that's maybe a little bit more about dolls, but yeah. So and I like to play with my dolls as well. Sometimes we go out for a picnic.
Very nice.
And it's and also so because they can also just play around with themselves. You can just lay down on a blanket, read a book while the dolls run around and play.
Yeah, and just hear them in the background.
Yeah, it's very relaxing.
Catch them out the corner of your eye as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't have dolls. I do have quite a few cuddly toys.
Okay.
A teddy bear. So I've got my 3 favourites are a teddy bear called Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
A dog called Doggy, not such an original name. And then a bunny rabbit that doesn't actually have a name. Just call him Bunny. Well, I guess his name is Bunny. Yeah. But...
Cool. And I know Michael J. Fox. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've wondered because they're not around on the weekends.
Correct. They timeshare, I guess is the word. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. They're with me Monday to Friday, and then they go play with their other friends on the weekends.
Okay. So is it like so they have a second job, or is it basically their free time? No,
it's a second job.
Okay.
Because on the weekends I'm usually out. I don't play with them so much, so they figured, hey, they could earn some more money if they went out to play work on the weekends.
But is it like, are all the 3 of them having the same?
Yeah, they're like unit. That's the wrong word. A band. Yeah, like a band. But basically, they work together, stick together.
Okay. And doesn't it feel weird to share your toys with somebody else?
I can imagine how people might think that way, but for me, no. I think it helps that. So, right, it might feel that way if they were non-sentient, yeah. But since they are sentient and we have conversations, I understand where they're coming from. So it makes a lot of sense.
Do they bring back stories from their other employer?
No.
Okay.
We keep things separate.
Okay, so it's all privacy protected.
Exactly. They don't talk to me about their other employer, and they don't talk to their other employer about me.
And you don't ask them about it?
No, of course not.
Do you know who it is?
No.
Okay. So you can't even say, hey, how was it with Esther?
I don't know if I could or couldn't, but I choose not to.
Yeah. Okay. I guess. Yeah. Are they equal, or is one of them in charge?
So Michael J. Fox is in charge.
Okay.
But there's just the 3 of them, yeah. So it's not like he's got a huge staff under him.
But also, like, if you then have salary rounds, do you speak with him or with all 3 of them?
All 3. They go negotiate that together.
Okay. That's actually cool. Because I know Michael J. Fox. I've seen him around occasionally.
Yeah.
He's rather fast for a bear.
Yeah. Can go up to 88 miles an hour.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I guess it makes
when it's on all 4, running on all 4s. Yeah, walking around is a bit slower, but running on all 4s, you can go 88 miles per hour.
Because maybe also because the other ones are a dog and a bunny. Maybe of course he needs to be able to.
Exactly, to keep up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I've got the Cuddly Toys. What other kinds are there? I mean,
I know. I used to have a bunch of action figures. It's like they didn't really get on with the dolls. And I mean, maybe getting on is the right word, but they just had so.
Do they not share interests? Like they want to do different things,
but also had like really different things that were kind of getting in each other's way. Like of course, an action figure, they're constantly doing stuff. Like. I had one with a hammer. I had one with a drill. They were constantly working on stuff, drilling holes, fixing stuff that didn't really need to fix. But they were constantly doing
parachuting off of things, I guess.
Exactly, and running around, shouting at each other, doing exercises, and I mean, understandable. They're action figures, and sometimes this was getting a little bit on my nerves, but fine, I can still go to another room. Or
they could play in the garden a lot, I guess.
Yeah, but
but not when it's raining.
Yeah, and also because the garden is. I mean, okay, you're right. They could go on the balcony. I thought you were
outside.
Yeah. No, but I took them to the park for a few times, but they don't run off. But they go do their own stuff, so they kind of like...
and especially the ones with the digging equipment, they go like to tunnel in the ground.
Exactly, they tear up the grass, or they annoy the passerbys, or stuff like this. And because they're also doing stuff, that's basically their job. It's like, go and sit down,
if you had some action figures, and then you told them, right, you guys... sit down and be quiet.
Yeah, go read a book.
Why did you even get action figures?
Exactly. It's like, hello, did you look at us? all in worker suits and so on. And then, but for me, it was fine. And of course, so I employed them. It's like a conscious choice.
Yeah.
But especially because of the dolls, they were constantly getting in each other's hair.
Yeah.
And I was like the dolls and the action figures. And then I brokered peace for a while, but at one point it's like, okay, somebody has to go. And then they got a pretty good paying gig somewhere else.
Yeah.
So they got to stay together. They're just somewhere else now.
Yeah. So those, the three we've mentioned so far, dolls, action figures, and cuddly toys, they're all sentient, examples of sentient toys.
Actually, yeah.
And so I wanted to also mention that there are non-sentient ones, but they are alive, yeah? So one example of that is our water guns.
Yeah.
So, okay, water guns have been around a real long time. What's the difference between one that's alive and that's not alive? The ones that are alive, what's really cool is they can produce their own water. So they do need to stay hydrated, like in the morning they need to drink some water, but they can then produce more liquid than you've put into them, so you can play all day without having to refill them.
And they work along, it's like, especially with a water gun, you're, what's it called? Squirting water. And then if somebody runs by, the water gun kind of like follows them around on their own initiative. Like you don't have to carefully point it because the gun actually...
But it has auto aim.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about. Yeah, it has auto aim. And it depends on the kind of water fight you're having. But if you want, you get a whole lot of them, you set them up as sentry guns. And you tell them, hey, fire automatically. Don't wait for me to pull the trigger. Yep. Anything gets in front of you, squirt it full of water.
Exactly. You can position them and you can just put them down somewhere and there you go in a row. And they can also say if somebody's further away, they squirt further and stuff like that. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah. You can have really amazing water fights with the live water guns. I like it. They set up a massive castle near the skate park. And that's used for water fights a lot.
Yeah, it's a really good environment for it.
Did you ever try with paint? They also work with paint, or there is a kind
different guns. Yeah, like
exactly.
You don't put paint in the water gun because they will give indigestion. But I know what you mean.
Paint
Basically, live paint guns is what you're talking about. I have, but not so often because with the kind of games you play, like with water fights, it's more like, hey, it's a sunny day, let's just squirt water and cool down. Yeah. With the paint fights, it tends to be more tactical, and that's not really my interest so much. Like I'm not so much into pretending like I'm in the military.
But it's in the skate park. It's nice because every time you hover over it, for example, or you pass it in a car, you look down. Yeah, exactly. And then it looks like also the colors look completely different every time in the skate park because there are so many
different teams,
fights with live paint guns that every time you come, it's completely covered in different colors.
That's a nice side effect.
But that's a good one where they're non-sentient.
Correct. Yeah. So they get indigestion. You have to take care of them, feed them the correct, also in this case water rather than paint, for example, for a water gun. But you are not. There is no concern about employing them or salary negotiations. Yeah. Another example of a non-sentient ones are Slinkies. They look like these coiled metal springs, but they're not springy. Anyway, and the main thing they really love to do is to go downstairs. They
got a point.
Exactly, step to step to step. And what's really cool with the live ones is they also can go upstairs.
And they also go on flat surfaces.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. The ones the older ones which weren't alive could only go down. They relied on gravity. And these ones, as long as you take care of them well, can go flat, can go up, can go all kinds of places.
But basically, if you have one, or you have a bunch of them, they would basically just wander around your apartment, going up and down things.
Yeah.
I can imagine that can be very...
It's kind of... So the sound is nice sometimes, and also it's nice. It's relaxing to watch.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can imagine it can be very relaxing and comforting. Especially, for example, if you've locked yourself in for a few days because you need to finish something or whatever, and then you just basically have your Slinky slowly walking around the apartment. Not needing any kind of attention, just...
The thing I've liked to do with mine in the past is, so in my apartment I don't have stairs, but there are stairs coming up to my apartment, from the ground floor. And I'm gesturing with my arms here, I guess they're about 2 meters wide. So I like to line up several Slinkies, like let's say, measuring with my hands here. You can easily get 5 or 6 next to each other, and have them alternating, going up and down, up and down, up and down. And that's pretty, relaxing. Soothing is an even better word, to watch the patterns of them. So okay, they're made of metal, but they're anodized with different colors, often a rainbow pattern.
Would you never have them walking around when we record a podcast?
Not while we record. They're not super loud, but they do make noise. So
okay.
Not while we're recording.
But that's also a nice thing to point out with the non-sentient live toys. You can basically also put them away. Mm-hmm. It's like when they're sentient, you can't just say, hey, just go under the cupboard for a few days.
No, I mean, you can ask, so not for a few days. You can, of course, ask them to be quiet, like when we're recording a podcast. But you don't just put them in a box and forget about them.
Yeah, and for the non-sentient ones, that works. Yeah,
they're fine.
What I like is the board games, and there's also the variation sentient, non-sentient.
Of course.
But you have different kinds of board games. For example, a game of life, where the actual figures in the game are actually alive.
Yeah, I mean that's in board games in general. That's the most common way that they'll be alive, is that the figurines, the tokens or whatever.
And that's basically you're a team with your figurines, basically. So it's like you and your figurine, you're the team, and you also decide yourself what's going on. But they walk around the board, they pick up things, they read the cards. In the case of in the game of life, they get on a hoverboard to move around the board. They hover around the different fields. And then you have tactic conversations. It's like, hey...
between you and the pieces,
Yeah, exactly. Right?
And actually, because this is one of the games I've not actually played, but is it the kind of thing, because some games you'll have that you are the one in charge, like basically you're deciding things, and then your pieces are following your orders, or your instructions. And other games, there'll be one of the pieces is really the boss, like the one in charge, and you're more executing their commands because you're the big one, so you can move things around that would be much harder for them as the smaller pieces.
Lift things, or you roll the dice or stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like that with chess. If you play a live chess, it's which is I don't know, probably says something about me, which is why I don't like chess with live pieces, because the king
is bossing you around.
Yeah,
like you're not actually choosing where the pieces go. The king's instructing you.
Exactly, and then I mean, he listens to my advice where I go like, I don't think that's a good idea because the rook is right there, and then if we put it there, and it's like, no, just do what I mentioned. Yeah. And then of course, if you lose, then it's still my fault. Yeah. Because look at what you're doing. You didn't understand my instructions or whatever. So that can be quite annoying. But it's really nice to learn chess.
I mean, then it depends if you get like a beginner set or an advanced set. Like a beginner set, will especially the whole point is to teach you how to play the game. So then you'll have a king who's more kind, I guess, in tone, and explains why he's making the decisions. The more advanced ones, he doesn't care to explain why he's doing things. It's up to you to work it out.
I've had one game of chess where the pawns were quitting.
Okay, they weren't satisfied with their leadership.
No, it's like the king was saying, we'll do this, we'll do that, totally not paying attention to everybody's needs. And at one point, the pawns just walked off. They were like, we've had enough of this. So, yeah. You have any board games in particular?
I really... it's a child's game, really, but Snakes and Ladders is really fun. So some of these, so like chess, okay, it's more tactical. Snakes and Ladders, the reason I enjoy playing that one is simply because it looks so cool. So, when one of your characters lands on a place with a snake, it gets eaten by the snake. You see it like traveling down the snake's body and then pooped out the end, It's not necessarily anatomically correct, but it comes out the end of the snake's tail. That just looks really funny. Okay, climbing up the ladders is a bit more straightforward. Yeah. The snakes basically make it really funny for me.
I mean that game was just made for live toys.
Yeah, definitely. The ladders aren't alive. Yeah, the ladders are just ladders, but the snakes and the figurines, they're alive.
Any other board games?
There's one which seems, so this didn't actually work out so well, or at least I didn't enjoy playing it. It seems like it should really work with live pieces. Mousetrap. So do you know the game?
Is that where you have to build all the contraptions.
Exactly, yeah. You build up this whole elaborate, like a Rube Goldberg machine thing. And the idea is to catch the mice of the other team. And yeah, okay, that seems like it should work really well. But actually the mice just run all over the place, you know? Like, 'cause okay, they don't want to be caught, fair enough.
Yeah, there's a few games like that where they thought, hey, that's great to insert some, because it also at one point it was like a hive. Let's make everything live, every toy live. And for some things it just didn't work out, like with Whack-A-Mole. They started hitting you back.
Or just wouldn't come up, because like, hey, I don't want to come up, get a headache.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they not just a headache, get concussion, get brain damage, it's serious stuff.
Or they would come out and grab your stick and start hitting you with it. And it's like, okay, that's just... Yeah, understandably, but of course.
I mean, basically, things with violence involved. That's why most toys aren't violent. Is because when the toy's just a piece of plastic, not alive in any way whatsoever. Okay, it's maybe not so nice. It doesn't matter basically if you smack it around you. As soon as it's alive, it doesn't want to be smacked around. It will smack you back. Okay, maybe no one wants to be smacked around. Maybe don't have games where you have violence involved.
Yeah, that's true. And the other one for me that didn't really work with the live toys, like playing cards.
Sure.
Because they speak up.
Yeah. Right, exactly. They're not moving around so much by themselves, but they're...
Exactly. And then from when they're speaking, you can kind of figure out which card it is if your opponent is holding them.
Yeah, it's muffled by the table. Like if the cards face down on the table, it's a bit muffled. But if they're holding it, if your opponent or the other players are holding them in their hands, you can easily hear. Yeah,
exactly. And they speak with each other, and they don't, because they're fine being part of the game, but they're not so invested in it, and then they start chatting with each other, and it's like, hey,
they've got other things on their mind.
Hey, Queen of Hearts, I haven't seen you in a few days. Like, oh, come on, don't say that.
It makes, especially games where you're meant to bluff, like poker, it makes it really not work.
I think where if we move away from board games, I think where it really works is Lego. Especially,
that's really fun.
Especially if you're shrunk down.
Exactly, that you have other folk to interact with.
And then all the figures are walking around and they're alive and sentient. And for me, it's almost like a holiday. It's like you shrink down, you go to your. I mean, I'm looking at yours.
Yeah. We always record him. Well, not always. We nearly always record in my living room. We're looking at my Lego city while we do.
Yeah, I don't have such a big collection, but it feels like always like a holiday. You go there, you basically join, and because they're around doing stuff all the time anyway. Sometimes you can shrink down. You go there. It's like, hey, Dirk, nice of you to come visit us, and then you get immersed in their daily doings.
Yeah,
and I mean, they like you. They talk to you. They invite you to go along.
Have a big croissant.
Yeah, exactly. But they're basically doing their own stuff anyway. So you can walk in and out of stores or go visit, or just sit and watch them. And you forget that they're Lego figures because they're sentient, they're your size, they're doing stuff. It's like very soon you forget that.
Yeah. Just if you catch your own reflection in a mirror or something, you go, hey, I'm not a Lego person, but everyone else is. So.
Exactly. And that's like we're not that different,
The proportions are a bit different. So, like, often depending what scale you shrink yourself to, but either things will be too short. Like, you'll be much taller than the other Lego people, is the point. Or if you shrink yourself down to the same height, you're like much narrower.
Yeah, and that's what I usually do. And then their heads are way bigger than yours, for example.
Stuff like that.
But you'll get used to it.
You get used to it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as it's especially. I sometimes use my Cyborg chip, and I have a Lego app installed. I mean, I don't make myself look like a Lego figure, but I basically have the same accessories.
Sure.
like a Lego hat or stuff.
To fit in.
Yeah.
And the main thing is, especially, no one ever makes this mistake more than once. It's just the very first time you're there, maybe. They don't have working plumbing. So, if you need the toilet, okay, unshrink yourself, go to the toilet, in the actual toilet, and then go back afterwards.
And also the really fun part with Lego is the building. It's less fun when you're their size.
To build it at that size, sure.
Exactly. So if you want to...
No, I build it regular scale.
And then shrink.
Once I built a model, exactly, when I just want to hang out there, shrink myself down.
It's not hard for them though. They're super strong because they're used to it. They play with Lego their whole life basically. But yeah, for us it's way heavier than you would imagine it to be.
I think one more toy. We've been going. How long have we been recording? Oh wow! Okay, half an hour already. So.
Okay, yes, you can see this is a topic we're invested in.
Indeed, or at least that we know a lot about.
Yeah.
This is a really new one. Like some of these toys we've spoken about so far, they've been around a while. But I saw an advertisement the other day for one that's just coming out called the Hobby Hex Hover Horse, which is a pretty intense name. But okay, the picture, if you see that name next to the picture, it's clear. Basically a hobby horse, like where you have a stick with a horse's head on the end. Okay, so not a realistic horse's head, but like a simplified one. Combined with, at the other end of the stick, a broom. Because like a witch's broom. So basically that you can fly around. So they could have just called it a Pegasus. But anyway, it's a Hobby Hex Hover Horse. Okay, so you can fly around. While you're flying around, have a conversation with your horse. If you get the sentient model, they actually have both. Okay. You can also get the one that's non-sentient, just regular horse head, so it doesn't speak to you, but, feed it sugar cubes. It whinnies as you're flying around, stuff like that.
Okay, nice. No, I haven't seen this commercial.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention if it's already out or if it's something that will be coming out soon.
Cool. Yeah. Then we can have a follow-up episode just about the Hobby Hex horse.
I think maybe hopefully they make a simpler name.
Maybe the Triple H. No, it's
Quadruple H. Yeah.
Quadruple H. That's still hard.
Hobby Hex Hover Horse. Anyway.
Yeah.
When it comes out, maybe.
Maybe they'll rebrand. Yeah. You can see that this is stuff that we have some experience with. But yeah, so we're over half an hour. So is it time to wrap up?
It's time to wrap up. People in the past listening to this podcast, please send an email to michaellasagna5@gmail.com. Put the number 116 in the subject and tell us about the toys that you like in your time and any toys that you would like to exist.
Yeah.
I don't know why you do this, but you can do this.
And also, like, if you tell us about the toys that are around in your time, maybe we can tell you if they're alive in our time.
Right.
Okay. That's it for this week, but next week we have a really cool episode. We're not going to reveal what it is.
No, keep it as a surprise for now, but exactly, it's something we've been thinking about for a while.
Yeah. And it's about time we speak about it.
Exactly.
All right. Then thanks for listening and see you in 200 years.
Bye-bye.